Welcome back to another episode of Growth Through Ganja Smoke with me, Big Pearl. So, this episode has two names. Excuse me, these locks. These curly locks. And I'm trying to stay in good position with the mic because I know I'm still trying to get used to this microphone thing, trying to have my audio good. And this hair just does what it wants to do. All right, so this episode has two parts. Well, two titles. Since this is my YouTube debut, it is called From Scratch. And then it's also called 1111. From Scratch comes from Lyrica Anderson. And then 1111 comes from Chris Brown's album. These are 11 things I've learned since my awakening. For anybody who's been listening, my two listeners on Spotify, thank you. But if you haven't heard my show before, I do a lot of healing and elevating through the use of marijuana. I'm not a 420 friendly person because 420 has never been friendly to me. I live by the Bob Marley quote that herb doesn't help you see the world differently. It helps you to see who you are, really. And it's definitely been a journey. I'm going into my fourth year of my awakening, or since my awakening. My awakening first started in March of 2021, and then it really got intense 6 months later. It's crazy. Anyway, so From Scratch is because this is my YouTube debut, and so this is my first episode. So I figured I'd do kind of like an introductory thing, or just something with some numbers. So I chose 11 things I've learned since my awakening, and on my first episode, I did like 10 facts about myself. I was reading somewhere that it could be a good place to start. So I just used that. So for this, let's get to these 11 things. All right. So first thing is a Kanye West quote: God's time can't fit on a wrist. And let me tell you something. I don't understand why people feel like they can cram a bunch of stuff into one day. Save some stuff for tomorrow if you can. Life is literally moment by moment. You can plan it down as much as you want, but life be life. All right, number two, I learned how to be happy without money and material things. Sometimes money and material things can cloud or can feed our ego, and sometimes you keep feeding something, start putting on a little weight. So my ego was probably pretty big. Yes, I don't really know, but during my awakening, God stripped me of everything. Friends, car got repossessed, definitely had no money. But I had to figure out who I was without all of it. And a lot of people will always be empty because that's what they need to fulfill themselves. But hey, everybody's time is their own time. And we'll get to that later. Number three, to be reborn is a blessing. It's literally a fresh start, and you can rebuild a new person. So when my awakening happened, and I was like, "Who am I? Where am I? How did I get here?" I had a lot of memories. So it was like I had memories I hadn't had for years. They just all surfaced at like once. It was a lot. It was very intense. And then I had to like sort through all that stuff. I had to, apologize to people. I had to start somewhere and start working on the holes and gaps that, conditioned me to be a certain way prior to my awakening. Number four, self awareness and accountability takes you really far. Holding myself accountable, checking my energy first. just know that every step that you take towards being a better person, you're always practicing. Like no one's ever done. So holding myself accountable for the things that I did in my past life and the decisions that I made, it was very freeing. That could be the hardest step for people, but you got to do it in order to heal yourself. You got to take responsibility for all the shit that was your fault, wasn't your fault. Apologize to yourself and keep it moving. Figure out or get some help with unpacking all that stuff. Number 5, self care comes before outside care. Nobody's going to take better care of me than me. So if I treat me like shit, why should someone treat me like a queen? Um, Nobody's coming to rescue me either. I have to participate in my own rescue. I have to save myself, and the same for people who are listening. Outside resources can't do everything for you. Like you have to plan out how to take care of your body, your mental health, your spiritual health, all of that. Number 6, homeschooling my children before school was a blessing. I've learned kids don't even know their government names. All they know is nicknames. So they're literally 4, 5, 6 starting from scratch at school. And if a child already can't read before they get to school, the parent didn't sit down with them to go over basic math, reading and writing before school, then what is the home training like? Um, I came back today. Speaking of, you know, you know, all this stuff ties into number 6. Home training is very important when it comes to children habits, cleaning up after themselves, teaching them to be self-aware. But are we aware as parents? Trying to teach them something. But homeschooling them, both of them improve our bond, and it can improve your bond with your child. Like I don't see why people really want to put that type of like it all starts at home. Why would you want to delay it until they get to school? And then it makes you more aware of yourself as a parent. Like, where can I be better? Instead of yelling at the child, how can I communicate to the child better that this is, I don't know. You'll figure it out. Number 7, going to therapy is a positive and not a negative. Suppression hurts you mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Being in survival mode all the time is unhealthy. Holding onto past traumas will eventually spill over, or they'll be released in an unhealthy way. They call it spirits, wine, and beer. Yeah. Number 8, breaking generational curses and trauma have nothing to do with money. This goes back to learning who you are without money. Money doesn't solve the deep issues within a family, within the flesh. Conversations do. Um, Therapy does. I'm a heavy advocate for therapy. Um, and then the curse breaker, usually the chosen one or the black sheep of the family, is usually the one that just starts saying, "Hey, look, I'm not going along with that bullshit." Number 9, when looking for love, you have to tell God what you do and don't want. This is something that I also learned too because the devil's also listening. And most of my days are spent communicating with God. The devil's really, really small in my life. Um, no love within yourself, no love outside yourself. And as I mentioned before, the devil is also listening to what you do and don't want. If you keep meeting the same type of person, it's because you haven't changed. You haven't upgraded, you haven't set boundaries, you haven't set new standards. It starts with you. Number 10, forgiveness is for you. Forgive people and just make sure that they know that you don't fuck with them. Look up prayers to say out loud to release that person's control over you, to release them from your subconscious. You ever, when you want to avoid something, you'll spend all day mentally avoiding it, but at night your subconscious can just throw all that stuff out. Forgive yourself for whatever you allowed to happen to you, all the fucked up decisions that you've made up until this point. You have to accept responsibilities for your dumbass decisions. And yes, I do write like this in my notes. And number 11, I had to learn that from scratch is from scratch and everybody's time is different. The level of patience that you have to have for people who are still tied up in this matrix. Once you learn that you just only have control over you, and once you keep in mind that it took you some time to get to wherever you are in your phase of your awakening, just know it's going to take them time too. And their time ain't on your wrist and ain't on your time. That's between them and God, just like it was between you and God. Oh, whatever. I hope you guys found something from this. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But this has been Growth Through Ganja Smoke with me, Big Bro.